It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbin Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchendo. Thanks a lot for joining us. We have an interesting show for you today, considering the fact that Nigeria is always quite turbulent, is the word I'll use. But we want to take things nice and easy today, celebrating people who are doing us proud, and just looking at, some of the lighter side of things on the continent and in Nigeria, leaving politics aside for today, because I'm sure there's a lot of that. We overloaded on that this past week. I have a very special guest here today who, in the past couple of weeks, attempted a feat that a lot of us can only dream of and made Nigeria proud, put Nigeria on the map, but also raised some very important issues that we'll be talking about here today. She's a travel content creator, amongst many other things. Alma Asinobi, thanks a lot for being here today.
Thank you so much for having
Welcome.
me. It's a pleasure.
Good to see you back on land in Nigeria.
Good to see you too. Good to see you too.
So, for a lot of people who might not know, you did attempt to break the Guinness World Record, I believe.
That's right.
For the fastest time to be on every continent.
Yeah.
But you tried to do it with a Nigerian passport, which we all know has its own. Anybody who's traveled with a green passport knows that you travel with a lot of just hesitation and just hope that things go according to plan. You were trying to break how many hours?
So initially I was trying to break 73 hours.
Okay.
A week before my trip, some American Air Force veteran
With an easy passport.
with an easy passport broke the record and took off like 10 hours from
I
my
remember
class.
seeing
It
you
was
tweet
hours.
that.
It was chaotic.
So you made it even harder to
Yes,
do.
exactly.
Now tell us what happened. Why did this start for you? Why did you want to do this?
So being Nigerian and traveling with a Nigerian passport, it has not been the easiest. There's some dreams that your geography sort of automatically just takes from you.
Yeah.
And you just feel like, well, yeah, this is not for me. To use the word, but yeah, this is just not for me. And I sometimes can be rebellious, and I'm like, okay, if something is harder, then it makes me want to do it more. And I'm like, I have to figure this out. I have to get it right. And so I wanted to travel just out of curiosity. I wanted to explore all the countries in Africa. So I did something. I wanted to do something called Project 54 2 years ago, but I realized it was actually so difficult.
Yes.
I think I would dare say it's harder to do that than travel to all 7 continents. In terms of visa restrictions and everything within Africa, it was really bad, trying to figure it out. And I felt, you know what, I would raise awareness for passport privilege and everything, but let's do an easier version of this. And so I just thought, okay, let me do this. I've always wanted to visit Antarctica. I've always wanted to visit Australia, Sydney specifically. So I just figured, yeah, I'll just do this. But there was specifically an issue, I think about a year or so ago. I applied for a visa, and this was
where now?
It was the Schengen zone, it was one of the Schengen countries. And they held onto my passport. They said it was going to take 2 weeks or so, but then they held onto my passport for over a month. And I just felt like a hostage. Like I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything. You're holding onto my only travel document for this long. And it just felt like there's no definite time. And by the way, when the passport came back, the visa was refused. So I was like, okay. So
what was the point
of all of this? That was a turning point for me. And I just figured, why don't we talk about this? Why don't we shed more light on this issue? It's easy because you think of water, food, education, all of these very important things to talk about, but this sort of issue just gets treated as though you're fighting for your rights for expensive vacations. Yeah.
But it does restrict. I mean, if anybody who's tried to go to school anywhere, go to a conference, have a business transaction, you've experienced some sort of this. But so you of course, you started off in Africa, you went to South America, North America, Europe.
I started off in Antarctica, actually.
In Antarctica?
Yeah.
Africa?
I started off in Antarctica.
Then you went
to South America, North America, Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia.
How did you go to Antarctica? Is
Very
there a visa
question.
to there? And I know there are no flights per se.
Question, yes.
There are no commercial flights per se. So how did you do that?
So I had a lot of, I'm going to be admitting this on national television, but I considered every single way to get there. I actually reached out to, there was a Russian like base that was like, I was trying my best before. This was very, I can be a bit like
Yes.
that when I want to do something. I'm like, I need to find a way, even if like I'm in a fighter jet or I just need to get there.
Yeah.
So I reached out to so many, and so many people refused. But I found that there are some excursions that you could take. Most of them though where you have to sail, right? Like you go through the Drake Passage, you go on a boat and a cruise, and then you get there and come back. And I didn't have that time because you need at least 5 days to sail. And I just found that there were some fly cruise options. So you could fly there and cruise back, or you can cruise back, you know, back and forth. So I found a couple of options from Chile. Now the issue was I needed a visa to get to Chile. And for me to get to Chile, if I'm going to leave Chile, go to Antarctica, come back to Chile, at that time I thought I needed a multiple entry visa, but they corrected me eventually that I didn't need one. However, I fought for a multiple entry visa. I got one, and then from there it was about a 2-hour flight from I think it's the southernmost airport in the world, on that side at least. Yeah. It's from Punta Arenas. So in 2-hour flight, I flew with a couple of scientists and researchers.
How long were you on Antarctica for?
About 6 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did Antarctica, then went to, so Chile, I guess, was South America for you. Yes. Then where did you go to in North America?
I went to Dominican Republic.
Okay, Dominican Republic in North America.
Yeah.
Then Europe?
In Europe, I went to Madrid, Spain.
Then Africa?
Cairo, Egypt.
Then Asia?
Dubai, the UAE.
Then
I went
Australia.
to Sydney, Australia.
So what informed your choices of these countries? Because I saw a lot of your tweets and things on social media about some airports have shorter transitions or airlines. Yeah. What informed it? Or did your Nigerian passport restrict you to these places?
Yes, that's a very good question. My passport did restrict me to certain places because, you know, when you have to put down your passport to get a visa here, you need to wait for the visa to get to you before you get your passport and take it to another embassy. So I had to have a healthy balance between in-person submission visas, e-visas, and visa on arrival visas. So I basically was trying to get as many anchor visas as possible. Getting a US visa gives you access to about 20 countries. Getting a UK visa gives you access to some other countries. Getting a Schengen visa doesn't restrict your European movement. So I kind of like just wanted to get those main ones. And then I knew that there were certain countries. This was from downloading flight data for like 2 years, from all the regions that I needed to. And I had to sort through all of so many like Excel sheets. I think they were getting in the thousands. And it took me almost a year to analyze all of this data. And I finally decided on the route that I wanted to take based on if they had a flag carrier that flew like very often. Yeah. I don't want to be stuck in a country where the first flight is by 2 a.m., the next flight is by like 10 hours or 12. Yeah, like no, we're not doing that. Also, I didn't want to get to a country where the airport, because I had to leave the airport, get into the city, take a picture with a recognizable monument. And I didn't want to get into a country where, you know, the airport is about an hour or 2 hours away from the city. True. So I did all of that, all of those considerations. And yeah, I think that's another, that's another thing. But yes, I think that those are some of the things that with visa, the proximity to the city center, the airlines available, the routes that, you know, we could see. Yeah. That made sense, yeah.
I know you had an issue in Australia, going to Australia, or was it in Australia that happened?
Going to Australia.
Tell us about that, because I know that made a lot of people very upset. Yes, but it also hits home for a lot of people who understand what it means to hold a passport like ours and be detained at an airport just because. Just because. Yeah.
It was very hurtful. I've officially cried on 4 out of 7 continents. I think that's a record on its own. That's a record on its own. But I mean, I wept at that place. Like
Where did this happen?
This was in Dubai.
Okay. I
had booked a flight. You know, at this point, I was already struggling. Like I didn't have so much time. I think I jinxed it really. I tweeted, 0 flight delays so far, no issues, guys. We're doing this. This was me getting to my 3rd continent. It was in Punta Cana, and then I had a flight to Paris. And the route that I had initially was going to get me to Australia in 59 hours, 46
So
minutes.
you would have done it.
I would have done it. And so first thing, they canceled the flight. Like I would have done it with 5 hours to spare. And then they canceled the flight to Paris last minute. Like I was the last person to board. I still have the boarding pass. To check in. I checked in, got my boarding pass. I was about to get, and then they called me back and said, oh, they canceled the flight. The next available flight to Europe was Frankfurt. I ran to the boarding, like the check-in counter, and I said, ma'am, please, I need a flight. I need to be on this flight. And she was like, no. She did small shakara and said, oh, okay, fine, you can get on the flight. It's going to cost you X amount. I said, I don't care. Just get me on this flight. And then she was like, okay, fine, get me your passport. Blah, blah. Give her the passport. And you know when they just open the passport, like, look at it, turn around, and you're just like, oh, gosh,
Not now.
What is this? And then she just turned around and looked at it and was like, do you have, like, German residency, or do you have a... I was like, no, just so this... I was like, yeah, but I have a Schengen visa. So she was like, that it's going to take like 45 minutes to verify with the German police, blah, blah, blah. She doesn't have that time. We're going to be... I was begging. And she was like, no, sorry, can't help you. And then I couldn't take that flight. That would have been, that was my alternative.
So you had a Schengen visa.
I did have a Schengen visa.
Germany is a Schengen country.
Exactly.
But they wouldn't let you on the flights
exactly.
just because you had a Nigerian passport.
And they were going to have to verify, do some things. And I'm like...
Verify the visa or verify the person?
I have no idea what that even means. You verified before giving me the visa. You had all my documents. You have, like... it was not... I mean, I don't know. I was going through a lot on that day. And so my last option was a flight to Spain. That flight to Spain was just... It was the last option. It was just the only thing I could do. I got there. They said, oh, the flight was booked. I said, that's not possible. I have to be on this flight. And then eventually I went to Cairo. So that kind of like derailed me. Went to Cairo, from Cairo went to Dubai. And then now this was my final stretch. And the closest place, the shortest flight from Asia to any Australian international airport was to Perth. And it was going to take me around 10-ish hours, maybe 9.5, 10. And then I was like, okay, I would do this, just get to Perth. And then I got to the check-in. I checked in, everything was fine. Got to the boarding gates, I was seeing the plane. Like I could see the plane right there. And they're like, oh, yeah, you step aside. And then stepped aside. I'm not a stranger to step aside because, I mean, they do this all the time. And then I didn't think, I kind of saw it coming, but I didn't think that it would lead to me ultimately not making that flight, which was very... And so I stepped aside, and they said, oh, they have to verify. Do I have a visa? I showed them the visa. It was an e-visa, so I showed them on my device. They have to verify the visa. What does that even mean? Like, you issued the visa.
Yeah.
You can tell that it's authentic.
At that point, were you still within the record?
At that
or you had realized you were not going to break it?
It was very thin.
Yeah.
There was a chance, but it was very, very slim. And I was like, okay, so I have to be on this flight. At least I need to get there in the shortest possible time. Even if I don't break the record, I need to get there as soon as possible. And they were like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then they dragged their feet and were like, oh, boarding is closing. They have to shut the doors. I'm like, no way. And they're like, yeah. We have to shut the doors.
In how many hours did you do 7 continents eventually?
Eventually, I did 71 hours.
71
but at the 53rd hour, I had already done 6 continents.
Oh.
So I was...
Within.
And so I was like, okay, so what now? Because I have to be on this flight. There was no way. They eventually said, oh, we have other flights that are going to Australia. There's another flight going in an hour. But that flight is longer, right? So it's just going to take me so long. Yeah. Eventually, just was like, oh, I kind of like was going to go back home. But
well,
yeah.
Congratulations. You went to 7 continents.
I did.
With a green Nigerian passport.
Precisely.
In 71 hours. That is a record for, I mean, anybody who doesn't see that as a record. And most importantly, I feel like you've raised awareness for a lot of things that people might have taken for granted, like you said.
Yeah.
I've never been to Australia, but it's a country I always wanted to visit. And knowing now that there could be a situation where I would need to be verified, just makes me wonder, I guess it's a call out to the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I beg your pardon, the Commission on the Diaspora, all of these people who are supposed to have our interest at heart, to start making having a lot more conversations with a lot of these bodies to see that, maybe you might attempt it again. Is this something you think you will?
Right now, I don't think so. Probably do other stuff. But maybe if I had a different passport, probably.
Is this something you're going to do? Because a lot of you travel bloggers are buying passports now.
I wouldn't buy a passport. That's a whole different conversation.
Reject one.
If it was handed to me, yes, I
Yeah.
would take it, but I wouldn't spend money on buying the passport.
Thank you very much, Alma Asinobi. You can follow her on social media. I guess your social media handles are
Yes,
also
the
Alma
same, Alma
Asinobi.
Asinobi.
Very well done. Fresh from 7 continents, or
That's
6
right.
back on Africa now, the
Yes.
7th one.
Thank you
And
so much.
wish you all the very best. And thanks for putting us on the map.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We'll take a
All
quick
right.
break and we'll be right back. Please stay with us.
I am ready for your action.
Still taking things easy on a very wonderful Sunday here, taking your minds away from all of the troubles that politics in Nigeria brings to you. I'm joined now by a good friend of ours, a good friend of the show for many, many years, who has deserted us. But we've decided to drag her back here today, but for something completely different from what you might know her to do. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Toyosi Akerele Ogunshiji. Thanks a lot for being here. Welcome back.
Good to see you.
We started this journey together.
Together, you know.
Eh? And now you are entering Hollywood. What's happening?
No, please. we start from Nollywood first. You know,
Yes.
like charity begins at home.
Well done. I mean, you've done a lot of good work with Rise. You've done great things over the years. And now I'm seeing producer beside your name. Before we get into the meat of the matter, what made you go into filmmaking?
So, you know, I've spent, when I came back from Harvard in 2017, it was very clear that the world was moving in a direction, especially around the significance of digital skills, you know, technology education. And as you know, before I left for Harvard, I had set up one of the, perhaps the most used education technology platforms in the country for secondary schools, basically digitizing education curriculum for secondary schools to be able to help underserved children and teachers access education content without any limitation. So sort of like self-oriented learning environments. But when I went to Harvard, it just sort of opened my mind, and I'd cross-registered from Harvard to MIT. And my dean there was the person who was teaching us entrepreneurial innovation. And it was in that class that, you know, we taught that of all the technologies of the 4th industrial revolution, artificial intelligence would be the most disruptive and the most transformational. So it made me very curious. And when I mean, you know that I've spent most of my career working around youth and education development. So I realized at that point that you can't face today's challenges with yesterday's knowledge. If you really need to empower young people today, as against back then, the models have to move and change from what it used to be. And that's exactly the reason why, you know, I made a pivot into artificial intelligence. So I've been in that space working, you know, around policy, around education, around advocacy, and AI, you know, AI governance and safety. About 3 years ago, I realized that the way AI was going, especially within developing countries like Nigeria, one of the fastest ways to democratize the knowledge of anything is to leverage familiar channels of interaction to deliver it. And I really wanted to, you know, see a situation where I wanted to explore a situation where young people in Nigeria and Africa could understand how to use artificial intelligence to solve, and other technologies like product design, cybersecurity, 3D computing, 3D printing, cloud computing, you know, to solve some of our local problems here in Nigeria. And I realized that pop culture, music, film,
It's a very easy way
extremely powerful. Like, you know,
To
that's
reach
like
people.
leaving opportunity on the table.
Yeah.
So it's not like I've made a pivot from AI into filmmaking. What I've done is to bring a convergence of artificial intelligence and creative storytelling to be able to make the first film on artificial intelligence out of Africa.
So it's called Makemation, am
Absolutely.
I right? Makemation.
The
You can see
making
it-
of automation.
You can see it boldly on her shirt there. And it says it's the first AI film in Africa. Now, when I hear that, I'm
The first
wondering
feature film on artificial
on
intelligence.
artificial intelligence. So is it a feature film on AI? Is it a film
Made with AI.
made with AI?
It's both.
What is it? Are the characters artificial intelligence generated? What exactly is this?
So it's both. It's been, by the way, it's been an incredible journey. Learning, unlearning, relearning, and just seeing what the possibilities hold for the creative and the digital economies of Nigeria and Africa. Makemation, from the script writing, we had to use a lot of, you know, Meta GPT, Meta AI, use a lot of runway, you know, LLMs, from trying to conceptualize the story, doing the, you know, quality assurance in terms of making sure the plots and the subplots fit into each other. We also needed to do a lot of work around, you know, moving from that phase of pre-production to to production proper to post-production. In post-production, a lot of the...
Sorry, we can see the trailer on the screen now for those wondering.
A lot of the, AI generated, like a lot of the CGIs, in the film. For example, you're going to see robots working on the corridors. All of those were generated.
Lagos?
Yes. Corridors of schools, like corridors of the Makemation Institute, that's pure generative AI. If you've seen our cast reveal video, if you've not seen it, you're missing out on something. It's the first AI-generated cast reveal, wholly generative AI cast reveal out of Africa, in fact. A lot of the, scenes you're going to see in our virtual reality scenes, sort of taking the students in the institution to the metaverse, we're all generative AI. But I like to say that Makemation is a convergence of live footage and generative AI. Because again, the most superior intelligence is human intelligence. I know there's a lot of conversation around artificial intelligence will take our jobs, and all of that. But I like to say that it's not artificial intelligence that'll take our jobs, Ibuka. It's the people that know artificial intelligence that'll take our jobs. We now live in an era where the wealth of nations is calibrated in terms of their human capital. Nigeria and Africa would only be globally competitive when we give our young people the skills that guarantee competitiveness. Because a couple of years ago, when you think about the wealth of nations, it's usually in terms of GDP, economic development, manufacturing.
What you're producing from the ground.
Yes, and all of that. But I like to say that one of the fintechs in Nigeria today has a market capitalization that is equivalent of about 12 banks. And we never know how possible it is until it's done. This film is made by young people. Like, these are young people in their 20s and 30s. I'm perhaps one of the few older people on the film, but my director is 29, my production manager is 27, my co-script writer is 26. One of the young boys who worked on the VFX of the film, when we're cutting the first 1 hour cut, is 19 going on 20. This was the film when the US government was hosting the Global Inclusivity AI, program in September last year. Makemation was the film. They used to kick it off. Official film, Kenya Innovation Week 2024, shown at the Global AI Summit in Saudi Arabia 2024, showing at the UNDP AI Marketplace this, forthcoming week. And then, of course, opens in cinemas all across Nigeria on the 18th of April during Easter. I think that one of the things that's also been very interesting about Makemation is the fact that parents are very excited that for the first time they're able to take their children from whether they're 5-year-olds or 18-year-olds or 11 or 24 to see a film that brings together everything. Some of the people that have watched it.
Yeah, sorry to cut you there, because this AI conversation has happened a lot globally, and I just to say, we don't even have lights. How are we joining this AI conversation? Our problems still feel so basic.
Correct.
But there's also the conversation by a lot of countries that Africa will have to leapfrog a lot of these things to become the next hub for development, on the globe. But what do you say to people like that who just wonder, AI, okay? We're still queuing for fuel in some places. Why are we talking about AI?
Those are artificial problems.
Yeah.
They are sort of there are problems that, for us to fix our fuel scarcity situation in Nigeria, you don't need artificial intelligence. You need, strong will, political will on the side of the leadership. You need the right policies. You need systems and institutions that work for, the advancement of the cause of the people. Those are not, bigger countries are thinking about how they're going to go to space and go to the moon. We're teaching our children up NEPA. The moment you give birth to a child in this country, by the time they're like 3 months old, they already know when there's electricity or there's not.
Yeah.
But Ebuka, we must not stop dreaming because we don't have electricity. The world is moving. Whether Nigeria is whether we have fuel scarcity or not, whether there are jobs or not, the world is moving in a direction that is moving extremely fast.
And like you said, AI.
Like while we are here celebrating, I was with Sam Haltman last year. When he came to Nigeria to meet with the US consulate, and the highest number of ChatGPT users in the world today are from Nigeria. While we are here talking about ChatGPT, some countries are on GPT-5. Like the Makemation film, the generative AI elements that were used and tools used on Makemation was we used a lot of Runway LLM, we used MetaGPT, even the dress code that we gave to people for the premiere coming up on the 16th of April. Was pure AI generated. So you now live in the world, but at the end of the day, it's important for us to begin to teach our young people. Some people sat down in a room and conceptualized this. In the 1970s, the first film on AI, Steven Spielberg made a film on AI in 2001 called Artificial Intelligence. There were AI films as far back as 1979.
So it
If you watch Tom Cruise's Minority Report of 2002, there was AI in that film. These are people, look, there is nothing you can do about an idea whose time has come. And the world is not going to wait on Nigeria and all of our problems. The idea of Makemation is to democratize access to the knowledge and the skills that would put the future of work in the hands of our young people.
Okay. So, Nigerians love their Nollywood. Nigerians love their movies.
We love it.
And
I love
because
it.
a lot of our stories are very relatable.
Correct.
No matter how many guns you want to shoot in these action films in
we
Hollywood,
like our daddy and mommy.
we still come back to Nollywood because it's feel good.
Fantastic.
So if I hear an AI film, am I expecting that feel goodness? Am I expecting a relatable story? One part. And secondly, I saw your cast reveal. Nollywood finished inside this film. How did you pull that off?
The very best of the best. I think this is a shout out to Auntie Shafi Bello and Uncle Richard Mofedamijo.
Yeah.
When this idea first hit me, the first person I spoke to was my husband, and was like, go for it. But you see, we need stories. We need stories that are deeply rooted in our own realities as a people. So, for example, if you go to my Instagram page, you'd see that a few days ago, I went back to the Agoegun Bariga community where we shot all the slum scenes of this film to celebrate with them, give them food items, give them gifts, give them cash gifts, and also officially invite them to come and watch Makemation. I'll take a few of the children from those communities to the cinemas just to be able to enhance their experience. I'm excited to see that a lot of old girls of Evadelaja Girls Secondary School are so excited to see the girls in the school in the film. When we say it is an AI film, if you say a film is a crime thriller, it's an action film, it doesn't mean that the entire theme and everything is going to be people doing AI stuff. It's basically the story of young people. Makemation spotlights how young people are using artificial intelligence to solve our problems, right? Like, you would see real-life projects built in this country, not in China. You are going to be marveled at the sheer ingenuity of young people in this country. Just writing concept notes and saying we need to build this, we need to use Arduino boards, potentiometers, jumper cables, we need to write code, use Python, use R, house them on Matplotlib, Kotlin. I had to learn a little bit of coding and some technology to be able to make this film. But the truth is, we cannot continue to believe. We've seen a lot of Papa and Mama stories. We've seen it all. Nigeria is ripe for. I'm excited to see young people and parents just say, look, I want my kids to do tech, and I need, something that helps them to even understand it. By the way, when we showed in Kenya in 2024 in November, the Kenya Innovation Week, a number of the tech giants already approached us for, can we, take Makemation and use it for AI literacy in universities across our countries? And that's because when you put a young person in front of a marker board and do intro to AI and give them a 6-week course, they won't learn it as fast as if you put them in front of a 2-hour film, tell them to watch it, come back and write what did they learn, and discuss it in the classroom. So we're moving to more blended learning. But beyond
the content era.
Yeah, but we also understand that people won't come to cinemas to come and learn AI, to come and learn about tech and all. So there's humor. Yeah. There's Nas Boy, there's remotes. Like you said, the whole of Nollywood.
Yeah, R&D, Ali Nuhu.
Ali Nuhu, Shafi Bello, Wumi Toriola, Lola DJ, Tommy Ojo, the Gen Zs, Adeolu Akintoba, Trix Joseph, the MD of Sterling Bank, Mr. Abubakar Suleiman, Inyolu Aboyeji of Andela on Flutterwave, Ifedro Simieti of Economy.
They play themselves, or are they coming as
well, they played.
Oh, we'll find out when we get there.
You find, go to the cinemas on the 18th. But guess what? The idea wasn't just to make a film. It was to contribute to the global agenda of the creative economy and the digital economy. When you say, we did a cinema exhibition for cinema operators about 2 weeks ago. And if I've never felt prouder of our cast and crew, I left that place saying to God, I don't want pride after this film. Like this, the feedback for people that have watched it, whether it's VFX and CGI, whether it's story and plotting, whether it's character, development, whether it's cinematography, stunning aerial cinematography, never before seen locations, shot at Microsoft Africa Development Center. PwC Africa opened their headquarters for us to shoot. We shot on water. You know, we did a lot with Lag Fair. We did a lot in schools. It's a complete story that brings, we describe it as the tech family movie of the year. It's a film that a father, a mother, and we were also very big on the unity of Nigeria. We wanted a northern husband and an Igbo wife. We wanted to show that no tribe is more superior or inferior to the other one. But more than anything, you would look, even in our casting, if you are from the north, Alinuhu represents you. Even in language, Ibrahim Chata represents you. If you are from the east, there's Choma Chukuka, there's Tony Umez, there's Jude Chukuka. If you are Yoruba, you know, there's Wumi Toriola, there's Lolai DJ, there's Jide Kosoko, there's Chimezie Imo from the east, right? So we knew that we made this film with absolute respect. With absolute respect for our audience. Yes, knowing that this is a pure generative AI made cast reveal. And I'm seeing, I mean, when we go to TikTok and Instagram and just see what young people are saying about Makemation, like, you know, Nigeria too is ready, you know, people are feeling proud. Like, we watch a lot of these films. We go, I mean, we pay a lot to watch Bollywood, watch Z World, we watch all these Korean dramas and all that. When will they start to sit down and watch our films too?
All right.
You know, in spite of language, in spite of the quality. I mean, Nigeria is a great country. We've made some of the best films out of this. You have to give it to Auntie Funke Akindele, Tony Abraham, Wumi Toriola, and all of those women, Messi Aigbe, breaking all the women and the men, Uncle Ewa, breaking all the records.
We'll get to that. But I mean, as you're talking now, I see the passion. Like I said, we've known you over the years, you know, from Rise to your AI transition and, you know, this stint with Nollywood that might become another part of your life full-time, we never know. But you stay passionate, you know, especially for young people. And this is a time when a lot of young people are, for want of a better word, without hope. You know, there's not a lot inspiring young people anymore. And you still stay that way. How do you talk to a young person today, as quickly as we can, because we don't have enough time left, to a young person today to stay hopeful in Nigeria, that things can still work out, that they can actually do things on their own?
Finding your true north. Knowing who you are, being grounded in spite of your circumstances, the environment you find yourself, the opportunities that people place before you. In the course of making this film, I died several times and came back, learned a lot, lost a lot, gained a lot. But beyond everything, I think at the point that as an individual, you learn to understand that there's a higher calling. Young people in Nigeria need to stay hopeful. This country belongs to young people.
All right.
The people that are the agenda setters, the trailblazers, the people that are calling, young people just, the day young people in this country wake up to know how much power
the office of the citizen.
The day the young people in Nigeria know how much power they have, that mobile phone in their hands on TikTok and Instagram can transform the way, the leanings, the mindsets, decisions, actions of the policymakers and the people in government. That's the day Nigeria is going to experience its turnaround.
Thank you very much, Toyosi Akere Ogunshiji. Makemation hits cinemas on the 18th of April.
Easter weekend. Take your enemies.
You have holiday.
Take your friends.
You have Good Friday, only Saturday, Easter Sunday.
Easter Monday. And then going forward, there's Workers' Day. There's Children's Day. You know, a couple of governors want to take children to cinemas to watch it on Children's Day. A number of companies are also buying tickets for their staff to sort of take them. If you wanted that digital transformation in your company, and it's been difficult to sell it to your team, take all of them to cinemas to see Makemation. That's the beginning of that digital transformation.
Thank you very much, Toyosi. I'm looking forward to it. And
you have to come for that premiere.
Congratulations.
I would drag you on
me out on there. Congratulations. I'm very excited for it.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Can't wait to see it. Welcome back. So Nigeria's most prestigious music award is back. Not just back, but back home. The Headies will be holding... Anyway, first of all, let me introduce our guests first before we get into the Headies and all of that. I'm joined here now by Dioga at the top himself, who's continued to, do this in spite of all the odds. He's kept it alive with all of the issues that might have stopped it. And many others have fallen by the wayside, but he continues to grow even bigger, went international. And as Afrobeats continues to rise, the Headies continues to rise with it. I'm joined here by Ayo Animashaun, the founder and CEO himself. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, the Headies are back. It's back home. I know you've been asked a lot of questions about why you brought it back and all of that. But how are you excited? How excited are you to be back in Lagos? I mean, you were away for 3 years, I believe.
Yeah.
You held it outside Nigeria for about 3 years.
Yeah.
It's back home. How excited are you? Is it something you did with joy, or are you trying to see what it looks like again?
Yeah.
I have to put you on the spot small.
That question is very difficult to answer. Mixed feelings, actually.
Yes.
And I'll tell you why. I'll be honest here. Who would not want to have the Headies in Nigeria? You want the world to come to Nigeria to come and see Nigeria,
Yes.
see what you can do in the country. But here, we've got a lot of limitations. And that's probably why some of those awards that they are not existing anymore. We've got a lot of limitations. Number one, with the kind of awards that we're having, you need institutional support, and not just me. The guys are in the movie industry, the guys are doing festivals and all that. For it to be big, for it to be really, really big, and if you want that vision for your event, you've got to be able to do more. And if it's not happening, you need to check where it can actually really happen. So that's one of the reasons. Before we moved the awards out of Nigeria, I tried to bring some of the biggest production companies on the continent here. One of them is called Gear House in South Africa. In fact, the first told me they were not coming to Nigeria, and they gave conditions after some time. But when they came, it didn't look exactly the way they wanted. Long story, it didn't happen exactly the way they wanted.
So is this a money issue, or is it a technical, or is it what is?
It's an everything issue, and I'll tell you, also us as Nigerians, we need to do more in actually really speaking, well and positive about. An American will say, God bless America. Nigeria will say this, whatever country, you know what I'm saying? We always see our cup as half empty rather than half full. We're on our way there. We can't compare.
The perception has traveled.
Yeah, it has to change. I mean, the National Orientation Agency need to do more. So, and I'll give an example. When we went to America, right? When I told the guys at the U.S. consulate I would like to have the awards in America, they didn't only show excitement. They introduced me to our own ambassador in America. They introduced me to Delta Airlines, introduced us to the authorities in the state of Georgia that will help us. They made everything easy for us. They didn't only do that. The ambassador came to Atlanta, told what's called the office in Department of State in Washington, D.C. that they were supporting this event in Nigeria. They came from, the Department of State. There was support from the American government. Well, I would also say that year, and even this one, we had the support of Lagos State. But it's not always been like that. It's not always been like that. I think I don't understand. It's always very, it's more difficult having the awards in Nigeria, and that's why some of those guys would not even do the awards anymore, because it's not a money thing, because you're not going to make money from it. And people that came into awards thinking that, okay, this guy, they do, and they get sponsor, maybe we try. They left at the end of the day. Another reason is those brands that support the awards and the artists. When we announced that we were going to America, all of them came, and the brands even did better. People, I don't know, Nigerians like to travel a lot. Any opportunity to travel, I mean, may we go. And when I announced that we were coming back, some artists were like, "Bros, why you bring our call for leave her there now?" But we like to have the awards here, but there are so many. I'll give an example. We do not have enough events venue in Nigeria. We don't have 10 to 15 to 5 choices when it comes to good quality production in Nigeria. So if one major production company is booked,
you're stuck.
You're stuck. You have to change your date. And if one venue is not working, you have to change your date. And again, the whole idea at that point was to showcase, our music to the world as well. We're already making waves around the world and all that. And some of the things that we want to do with the awards, we want to make it a truly global music brand. Everything's not going to happen in our award brand. Everything's not going to happen in our backyard. So we try to explore, and we were well received in Atlanta. So yeah.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Still, when is this awards holding? First of all,
27th
of April.
Of April.
Yeah.
27th of April. In Lagos.
Yeah,
In Lagos.
and I've seen you put out a few tweets in the past, about artists respecting the awards or not, or getting more excited about certain international awards. Nigerians also have made a lot of comments about that, and it can only be as big as it will be if the support is equivalent. Do you feel that the Headies gets the kind of support you think it should get from the artists? And we're talking attendance here. Because, if it's the biggest award in Nigeria, most people will say probably in the continent now, because Afrobeats is the biggest genre on the continent now. So any awards that celebrates that, is probably the biggest on the continent. Are you happy with the level of support? Do you think artists are doing enough?
From what I know, I would say yes and no, and I'm going to explain what I mean. For example, Rema is in town now. He came for the Headies because we were meant to have it on 5th of April. And he said he was going to be around. He made it. He's here. And he's leaving now again. But will he make the second one? I'm not sure because he has event.
Yeah.
Now, you have to understand, we're not, once some artists now, they want to win the Grammys. And another thing I know about artists is that some of them, they'll be using one eye to check whether they're going to win or not. And if they don't win, they don't want to be in the room. And I'll give you an example. One big artist, I shouldn't mention his name here.
Oh.
No, I shouldn't. I should not be unfair. No, not me and you. Everybody's watching. One main guy, I didn't even know it was at the awards. It was backstage.
Recently?
The one we had in Nigeria before we traveled, was
Okay.
Backstage until the category was announced. It was when he won that it came out. That's when we knew that it was there. I don't know. Some artists will not want to sit down there, and someone nominated in the same category
Beats them to it.
They don't understand. They are not able to deal with that yet. They won't be able to walk out of the hall. So yes, some of them want to be part of it, but they want to check. And for us, the voting categories are the voting categories. We won't tamper with. We never tampered with. We're not going to tell you because we don't even know if you're going to win or not. I promise you, you're going to win, like some people do just to make you come there.
Do you ever get people calling you to try and influence?
Yeah, all the time. But a lot of them,
A-list artists?
some people send some people,
Yeah.
but a lot of them know over time they know who you are, what the brand stands for and all that. So they say, I no go there, they no go answer. It's not even the one. Blah, blah. Yeah. So yeah, some that don't know still try to influence. Say, some guy even called me in the past that don't worry about that. Next week I'll go buy him. I just want to make my artist win. And he got a piece of advice from me.
Yeah.
I asked them to go and vote.
Very interesting. I mean, the Headies has had many iconic moments. I mean, we all can't forget the Don Jazzy and Olamide moments that ushered in the new year for us back then, So we've had a lot of those iconic moments. What are you looking forward to, with the upcoming one and in the years to come? Because I feel like for a lot of people, because of how awards have gone in Nigeria, where, like you said, a lot of them die off, I guess there's that constant fear of, I hope the Headies stays. We all kind of root for you. So every time I hear an announcement of the Headies, I'm like, okay, great, it's still happening. What are your hopes in the years to come?
Okay, so first, you can say what everybody is not doing right, but you have to check within to, and see what you can do better or what you can communicate better. We've always had Headies Academy. We already have plans to make some things public. The reason why we didn't make a lot of things public before now is because the lobbying gets too much. That's one. Number two, we are announcing Headies board very soon. Just guys that are going to be in the board. The most of these, Grammy started in 1958, as Gramophone Awards by, you know, and that was when they founded the Grammys. The first one was 1959. But, you know, they've had their journey too, you know, and the Headies is so young. The comparison is flattering. When the Grammys is happening, Headies is going to be trending. You know, it trends when the Grammys is happening. Nigerians talk about Headies a lot. So what I'm looking forward to is partnership with of course, a lot of young people. You know, the guys are already big that don't think they want to come. It's fine. It's fine. There are so many guys to concentrate on. For me, and I was telling the academic guys that if I had my way and if they would allow that, for artists that don't submit entry, it means they don't want to be nominated. For artists that don't drop off their video, when it's just so that in case if they're not able to make it, tell us in advance if they're not able to make it, and it means that they don't respect the awards. So why don't you just concentrate on the people that
who are interested,
who are really interested? You don't want to give me the awards I don't want to win. You know what I'm saying? And there's so many people out there, they're like that as if their life depends on it. Why don't you just so and all these guys came through the ranks and they were at one point or the other performed on stage. There was not one of them that didn't either perform on stage, win an award, wanted to be at the awards at all costs and all that at some point. And now if they're big, thank God, glory be to God. There's so many artists that are coming up that are new. It was just 6 years ago that Rema won Next Rated. Rema is top in the world now. And some that didn't even win, you know, it was just 3 years ago that Arasta was nominated for Next Rated. Yeah, she's top in the world now. So and you know, music, it moves so fast now that these guys are really growing. There are some guys that are coming behind. You need to celebrate people that want to be celebrated.
Yes.
You know, so we want. If you ask me what we need from the state, we would think for a brand like this, everybody's saying our own Grammys, our own Grammy. If it is your own, own it, and do what it requires to own it, and do something about it. Otherwise, I would like to alternate the awards. You know, one in Nigeria, they one abroad, they one in Nigeria, they one abroad. Because
you still want to go?
I want to go because I want to stay, but I want to go because it makes it the headache now.
Yeah.
Like we had 2 consecutive awards in America. We didn't have to change the date. We didn't have to. Here now we are moving the date.
Yeah.
Because things don't move as fast with the kind of event you want to have. You want to have a massive award show, not a regular show. A massive award show, not a regular show.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. Welcome back. Welcome back to Lagos. I saw the trailer there of the Returned Artifact was pretty eye-catching for a lot of us. And looking forward to the Headies. A lot of us have been there many times.
Yeah,
I mean, we can never be nominated, but at least we enjoy, you know, what you put together and it's
and all that stuff. Yeah,
it's nice to see what you're doing, and good luck for everybody who's interested. Like I said, April 27th.
April 27th.
The Headies will be happening. It will be live. I believe.
Live, yeah, it's always live.
I was live on HIP TV, but also, I don't know if you want to attend. I don't know if there's a way to attend, but
it's live on YouTube. We're planning with YouTube.
Live on YouTube as well. So looking forward to all of that. And you know, the nominees, your favorite artists are all nominated, and hopefully they'll be there. A lot of them will be there, and looking forward to the awards. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
And looking forward to it. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Well done for what you do.
Well, like I always say, you can follow the conversation on social media. Please use the hashtag of your minds when you send us a message. I'll see you next Sunday.
Don't just stand